Hello everyone, my name is Bridget and today we're going to be talking about the dark night of the soul and how to get through it. And I'm going to be telling you about it through my journey that I've been experiencing this year. So I'm going to be giving personal examples of what's been going on for me and what I've learned through it, and different tips on how you can be assisted depending on what you're experiencing right now in your personal journey. So the dark night of the soul is a transformational process in which the soul and awareness supersedes conditioning, persona, and what Eckhart Tolle says is it's the collapse of the perceived meaning of life, also known as an existential crisis. So let's get into this. You might be experiencing it now, maybe you experienced it at some other time, maybe you're just experiencing different levels of challenge or transformation or different things, and so let's talk about it, let's explore it. In my experience, I've seen two different kinds of dark night of the soul. It obviously can look extremely different for different people, but one is the yin expression of the dark night of the soul, which is the complete surrender and collapse of the meaning of life, of what you have perceived to be real or fixed, which is very connected to the dark night, meaning it's the return to the void. It's the return to the oneness, the letting go energy. So it has that water yin, collapse, surrender, vulnerability energy to it. And that's one approach that can be taken to this dark night of the soul, or one way it can manifest. Another way that I've seen it manifest is through the yang path, you could say. And this is the crucible, the fire, the alchemical, heated, pressurized, transformational energy that then leads to a big shift and huge transformation. Both lead to transformation, but I've noticed that one can be highly pressurized with intense fire, and the other one is the collapse and surrender into the void. So I've noticed that those are two extremes of what it can look like. Obviously, there's variance in the middle in many different ways, but I feel like that can help. And in ways, in my experience, going in this surrender, vulnerable yin approach can make it easier, though pressure and fire can have its place as well. So however it's coming up for you, those are some ways of, or maybe articulating what you're experiencing. So I'm going to be weaving in my personal journey with this to share so that you know where I've been for the past year, as well as there's learning tips in it and how you can navigate through your own journey. So at the beginning of the year, as many of you know, I had a mass breakup or uncoupling with my partner of 6.5 years, and it was beautiful and it was intense, that leaving, that parting ways of such a deep love and connection and partnership that left me in a deep state of grief once I really let myself feel what was going on. And that move out, that timing was happening right when quarantine happened and everything started going on in the world, which then led to me not doing travel or retreats, which is usually what I do. So there was a really big collapse in my career world, in my passion world of exploring, in my relationship, in the world itself. And also during this time, I felt this complete release of any need in me of fame and fortune and those kinds of energies. So it was this collapse of control, is the way that I would say it. I lost control. I realized it was no longer, and it never was, in my hands. And at that point, I surrendered to it. I felt the opportunity, as maybe many of you have this year, with going very inward and not having as many external responsibilities or distractions, to really go deep. And I could see that this was my sole opportunity. So in this, I went into this deep phase of grief and crying, spontaneous laughter, several times a day for months. It was crazy. And my emotional body, I had never felt it so palpably, is during this time I realized that we truly do have an energetic emotional body that was wrecked, it was raw, and it was so as I kept on going, so incredibly rich and deep. And now I want to weave in some of the lessons of this, which is one of the things is if you start to go down this path of collapse or surrender, or you feel that pressure and this transformation is happening, one key thing is to go with it. Ride that momentum. If this energy is coming up in you, go with it. There were many points where I could have shut down, where I could have toughened up and been fine and just kept going or done whatever I needed to do. And that would have disrupted the process. So if you're experiencing it, let it go. And as you keep going in this process, it's more openness, more vulnerability, more surrender, more release. And the more you can do that and just become a raw puddle of drippy, oozy awareness and consciousness, the better. So this is a key piece that I'd recommend if you're going through this process, is to let it go. The culture, which is not positive or helpful anyways, they want to stop these processes and say, it's fine, it's okay. And really to continue on, to continue forward with this soul process, it's being guided, it's being orchestrated by a higher aspect, literally your soul, as well as your higher self and your whole reality. So trusting that and flowing with that is really, really important. Now, in tandem with this complete surrender and continuing to open and go with the momentum and flow of this transformational process, is to make sure that you have support as you're going through it. And support that really, really gets it, not some mainstream therapist that tries to put you on antidepressants or something like that, but someone who really, really understands in multiple areas of support. I had tons of support from my friends, from my family during this time, and I got to the point where I knew there were things that I could not see. I had blind spots, we all do, and so I went to some pretty dang incredible people to get to the bottom of, one, why I created certain not so positive patterns in my past relationship, in different dynamics, and to truly work through the core challenges, the core root of where these things were coming from. And I feel like that's really important. And both things are happening simultaneously. There's some things that cannot be articulated by words, and it's the process itself is the medicine and becomes clear over time. And then there are certain core fundamental things that may need to be identified and consciously shifted during these times of transformation. And so this support is really, really important to do this. And it will also make you feel comfortable going to these deep, open places with yourself and trusting that you won't get lost. Will I just be a puddle forever, or will I be in this dark space forever? And you will have guiding lights that can support you and hold you during this process for your phoenix rising that will ultimately come from this at the end of this transformational process, when the time comes for your reemergence from this. So that is another key tip, is you will get through it. You do need the support. You need to keep going and opening, but ultimately just knowing that you will get through it is really encouraging and is really empowering and can keep you in the process as you're in it, knowing that you will get through it. So those are the key steps as you're experiencing it, as you're going through it. For me, I've really used this timing of mass destruction in our world right now and seeing how everything doesn't work. And so these programs that I had running also do not work. And that was really helpful to know as well, as we can see that it's not working. So what's on the other side of this must be better. And it truly is, especially when it's guided by the soul. So in this deep surrender process, I was absolutely available to massive shift and transformation, which I think is key. You have to be available to become an entirely new person. Of course, your core essence will always remain the same, so it's not a worry about losing yourself. Your true self will always be there, but losing all the other crusty, crappy parts of yourself will go away, and that's always going to be helpful. So for me personally, my expression changed a lot. I'd been using my throat chakra and communicating here to you for years, and at my retreats and in private sessions, I had been using my throat for expression for so long that I just wanted to be quiet, which is why I've been quiet on here a lot this year. And I wanted to express in new ways as this soul depth was coming through me, and that's where I was living in this deep, deep feeling space. And so different levels of using words through writing and communicating through music and sound and movement, these kinds of ways of communicating and expression felt more resonant with me, and are also other aspects of me that once all this control melted away, were able to come and emerge. I also became, and am now, radically honest, extremely radically honest. I'm very honest in these videos, but in my personal dynamics, I did have a challenge at that. I would sugarcoat, or I would make sure that the other person was okay, which was something coming through in the transformation that I had, which was connected to my early childhood and my connection with my mom. I'll talk about that in another video, as well as radical honesty in another video. But it was absolutely profound and got to the core wound, why I was carrying these negative patterns, which I will absolutely share with you and have been training in and exploring for this whole year. So I got to this place of deep radical honesty, which has been incredible and so empowering, and stepped into a deeper level of embodiment, because in this world with all the stuff going on, over time, disassociation from aspects of our body and our being happens because of the distortion and being able to even exist here. And so I moved deeper into my body and breathed into it, and have been doing a lot of Tai Chi and a lot of different body movement practices to come deeper into my body. So those are some of the things that have come through in my dark night of the soul. So as you go through, and you go through to this dark void of, or the crucible, whatever you so choose, your soul shows you, in it, out of the crucible, out of that pressure, is going to come treasure, is going to come a diamond, and many diamonds, a whole treasure chest of all these new reclaimed or newly fortified, deepened aspects, shined, purified pieces of your consciousness that are your new treasures, your new medicine due to this alchemical process. So that's another thing that's going to happen when you do get through it, because you will, is you will have all these treasures to take with you in this new journey. And for me, the deepest treasure that I've taken with me is the journey itself, is that soul depth, the richness, the vastness that I am now deeply interconnected with, which I can create from, which is incredibly powerful. And knowing that you can get through something like this is deeply encouraging, strengthening. I feel my warrior spirit, and all of these energies are so incredibly helpful for you personally, obviously in life, and the world right now. We need this depth, we need this clarity, we need this refinement. So it's so helpful. And some of the things going on right now are being designed to create separation and to create more distortion and create more trauma. But if we utilize it in the right way, it's an actual opportunity to step into greater depth and utilize this time where we're not meant to go out into the world or do as much, or whatever the situation circumstantially is. It's actually this perfect space to do this transformational process. So let's use it. And to begin moving to closure of this discussion, I feel it's important to say that it's not something you need to catalyze yourself. The dark night of the soul is a soul-prompted experience. When it is time for you to go through this, it will happen. And when it's not time for you to, say, be in the depths of the caverns of the void of creation, spelunking treasure from your soul, that's great. You are probably on the end of the spectrum that is meant to spread joy, to be creating, to be light, to take care of the other thing. And there's an ebb and flow and perfect balance within our collective, within many collectives, within families, all these different structures, that there's times where you're gonna be high as kite. There's gonna be times where it might be low, and it'll be this perfect combination of when someone else is high, maybe you're low, and when someone else is low, you're high. So there's, again, no force in needing to experience this journey. It is something that will naturally arise, and knowing more about it so that you're ready when it does, I feel is very helpful, so that you can go, oh, this is what this is. Let's do this. And be ready for it and go deep. So that is a peek into the depths of what I've been experiencing this year. I feel it's very important for me to share that because I know a lot of people are going through existential crises right now and going through different levels of this, as well as I want to continue to be authentic and show up with where I'm at in my transformational process, because that's the best way that I learn, or when people are open and share. So I want to do the same to you. That is what I'm all about. And it can give more clarity to why I haven't been as present, because I am really dedicated to service and to serving you, and to getting as clear and authentic within myself to do that from the best and purest and most aligned place. And that's really what's come through this year as I've gone super deep and thrown out everything and said, what is most essential? What is most essential that I can share in my work, in my expression, to be of benefit to humanity in the way that it needs right now? And through this dark night of the soul process, I got deep clarity around what that is, and the deepest core wounds of humanity as to why we're creating the situations we're creating right now, so that we can heal those deep core wounds, which I'll be sharing about in future videos to come. It's so good, it's so rich. So there you have it. That's what's been going on. If you're going through something intense, I'm here for you. We're here for you. We're here for each other. Just know that. Find someone that can support you in this journey. Multiple people, multiple perspectives, in a really kind, beautiful, and honest way will be really supportive. So comment below. Let me know where you're at with your journey, what you've been going through, what you've been experiencing. Be sure to go get my free MP3 download meditation, which is all about reconnecting consciously with your soul blueprint. Very, very powerful and special. Be sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you get notifications every time I do new videos. And I love you, and I'm wishing you all the best on this deep soul journey we're on together.